Good morning, dolls, and welcome to Little Gretchen's workshop. Now, I know I've been working on Miss Betty's kitchen, but I was just itching to get to some of these kits, especially this one with the marble table. So I'm just going to take you along as I work on some of these kits. Now, the instructions, which I consider suggestions, are very plain and very clear. And after briefly reviewing them, I forged ahead to assemble my kit. Now, in my mind, kits always more or less remind me of assembling a puzzle. And although I'm really excited about doing this, I'm trying to remember Daddy's words and take my time. So these are the corner pieces, and I'm adding them to the side pieces to begin the construction of the portion that's going to support my beautiful marble tabletop. Now again, I want you dolls to take note that I've already previously stained all of these pieces with the wood stain that I'm using. Now I may give it an additional coat after everything is done, but I want to always recommend and consider it a best practice to always stain your wood pieces before you begin to assemble things and use the glue, because if you get any oozing or spillage, those areas won't take your glue very well. Now, when I approach kit assembly, I like to do things in sections. So now you can see I've done both of the ends. So now I'm going to go ahead and add the sides that connect these parts. So I'm adding glue to that little niche on the other side of the corner piece. Now, dolls, I would recommend that you allow the end pieces to dry before you move forward. And although that's what I'm telling you, that is not what I did. I was really excited about getting this assembled. So as I've said so many times before, do as I say, not necessarily what I do. And although I've clearly committed several infractions against the Dollhouse Furniture Builders Code of Conduct, I think I ended up with a nice solid base for my coffee table. Now, this is a beautiful piece of marble that was included in the kit. Now, the majority of the kits you see me work on today were gifts, but there are lots of House of Miniature kits available right now on eBay. And although the kits are vintage or older, you can find some really wonderful styles at great prices. Now here's another lovely piece that I'm working on, and it is a low boy, and it has 4 different drawers and beautiful cabriole legs. So I'm going to just show you my assembly process for it. Now I've got a little Lego block holding up one of the panels that separates the doors. Now this one was partially assembled, so I'm kind of picking up where someone left off with this particular kit. Now most of the kits I'm working on are brand new, they've never been touched, but this one had already been started. Now here you can see me kind of pre-fitting some of the pieces of wood, because I generally try to dry fit them before I add the glue. And although dry fitting is always a good practice, it's not really necessary with the House of Miniature kits because the wood is cut very precise, and I've never had an instance where a House of Miniature kit component of wood was ever warped or bent, especially if the kit was still sealed in the plastic. Now in this frame you can see I'm adding an ample amount of glue to the niches of the corner and all across the back so I can add the back panel to close it up. And I love the little niches that they add to the corners for the components because it gives everything a nice, neat, flush fit. Now, after I was comfortable with the alignment of all the pieces and I felt like everything was balanced, I decided to ensure that everything dried the way I said it. I would need to apply pressure or tension to prevent shifting. So I used rubber bands. Now you can absolutely use masking tape or painter's tape to hold everything in place, but I couldn't find mine, so I used rubber bands. Now I like to use really thin, stretchy rubber bands rather than thick ones. Now when using rubber bands, you have to look at all sides to make sure nothing is shifted or that it's misaligned before you allow it to dry. And from this angle, you can see I added a second rubber band because I wanted to add tension to the top corners and the bottom corners to make sure the pressure was even all the way around. So while the body of the low boy was drying, I went on to add the front of the drawer. Now this is the long drawer that's at the top of the low boy. And again, the body of the drawer is already assembled. I'm just adding the front. And after I added the front to the drawer, there was a little bit of oozing, so I had to make sure that I cleaned that up right away. And after I was sure that everything was aligned, I set that aside and allowed it to dry. Now, dolls, in this frame, I'm not looking at the instructions. I actually looked at the picture of the box, but this is the little decorative piece that goes under the last 3 drawers. And it would be a best practice to look at your suggestions when you're assembling your kit, But like I said, I treat kits like puzzles. And I do want to mention that I did add a third rubber band. I didn't need a fourth one because only one corner was a little loose. Now, I'm really glad that I only needed 3 rubber bands because that's all that I had, but I would say it's a wise choice to have more than what you need before you start. And when everything was finally dry, I removed all the rubber bands and I made sure to inspect all my corners to make sure all my joints were solid before I went on to add my finishing pieces. So I quickly added a little glue to that little finishing decorative piece at the bottom. And at this point, I couldn't resist trying out the little drawers. Now, dolls, I have to admit, I'm really getting excited at this point, so let me go ahead and add the legs. And dolls, one reason I get so excited about assembling kits is because as a little girl, I ruined so many. And my daddy would patiently replace the ones I ruined and urge me to try again, reminding me to slow down, take my time, and follow the instructions. And although my process isn't exactly the way he taught me, I think he'd be proud of me today. Now here I am adding the glue so that I can add my finishing top to the low boy. Now keep in mind, after I lined everything up, I used my trusted rubber bands again to create tension to secure the top. But in addition to using the rubber bands, I also used the weight of a small piece of granite. Now, another thing I want to recommend when you're working with kits, you always want to be careful because there are times that there are tiny components included that you may not be aware of if you don't read the suggestions. Now, this one has some cute little knobs that went right at the bottom of that little decorative piece, but I hadn't stained them. So I carefully removed them from the bag that contained the hardware as well. Now, I used my paint palette to stain them, but dolls, just look how tiny they are. They'd be easy to overlook. Now I carefully added a tiny bit of stain because they didn't need much. And here you can see me adding glue to the bottom of that decorative piece where they're to be placed. And here I was really grateful to have my precision tweezers to help me align everything. Now sometime when you're adding components like this, the bottoms may be slightly rounded, so you may have to sand it a teeny bit, but you have to be extremely careful because they're so tiny. If you drop them, they'll bounce away and you'll never find them. Ask me how I know. Now let me bring it up close so you can see how cute it is. And I really think that's a lovely finishing touch to such a beautiful piece. So at this point, I think it's safe to go ahead and remove my rubber bands and look at everything all together. Now I've already got the 3 bottom drawers in, so let me get that long drawer. If you take note, you can see the long drawer is a little bit shinier because I added some additional stain to it. And after seeing how rich the top drawer looked, I added a little more stain to the whole piece. Now dolls, in this frame, I am using my stain directly from the can, and that's not recommended because dipping in and out of the whole can contaminate it. It is the best practice to just take out what you might need for that particular project, but I'm sorry dolls, it's just not what I do. But I really do think that additional layer of stain really gave the color a lot of richness and another level of depth. Now, I did do quite a few other kits in addition to the ones I did at the beginning. And although I didn't show the full process of all of them, I just want to give you a few highlights. Now, here I'm adding legs to the footboard of a bed. And dolls, for the most part, I try to assemble the kits based on the suggestions. But there was a part of these suggestions that implied that I should drill holes in the sideboards to add string to support the mattress. Now, using strings to support the mattress may have been customary for the time period that the bed was representing, but I don't think it would be very comfortable for my dolls. So I just went ahead and used my tried and true popsicle sticks, or which some may call craft sticks. And all I did was cut off the rounds, stain them, and make sure they were sized to give a nice, tight, secure fit in between my side rails. And I think that'll provide a nice, firm, comfortable support for my doll's mattress. Now, dolls, here I am back in the rooming house dollhouse, and I'm in the bedroom that's being considered for Big Bo and Miss Fiona during the rest of their stay. Now, dolls, I'm going to remove this bed that I had been considering. I do really like the bed that I just removed. I think it's just a little bulky for the space. So let me try this bed that I just completed, because although the beds are about the same size as far as width, I think this is a better scale. And dolls, in this instance, when I reference scale, I'm more or less talking about the proportions of the bed frame itself and the thickness of the wood. Now, in this frame, dolls, I'm just playing a little bit, just working with some ideas in my mind. So, dolls, this is something that I always do and I would recommend. I believe in playing before you plan. Now, I still need to do bedding for the bed, pull together accessories, do other things for the wall, but I just wanted to bring you dolls in to just see what I was up to. And again, this is not the bed for this bed. I just threw it on there to just kind of get a feel for things and just hash out what I need to do. So let's get back to the table. So dolls, now that I've given you all a glimpse of what's on my mind, let me pull together and show you all the kits that I've completed that I've been working on over the past couple weeks. Now here's that little lovely nightstand that I just showed you inside the room. It's really cute. I always wanted this one. And after I got it assembled, I realized it was even cuter than I imagined. Now, if this is your first time watching and you want to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe and always look for me on Mondays after 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And let me know in the comments what you like most about this video. I'm really glad to be at this point where I've gotten quite a few of the kits already assembled and you can clearly see how lovely these pieces turn out. So I really want to encourage you dolls to always consider vintage dollhouse furniture kits as an option for furnishing your dollhouses. And in the process of assembling the kits, you'll learn some very valuable lessons about dollhouse furniture construction, which will really help you as you move on in your journey to create your own dollhouse miniatures. Now, there will be additional follow-up videos for all of these pieces that I've assembled in this video because I need to dress everything, add hardware, and Gretchen everything up. So, dolls, I have so many wonderful things that I want to share with you and so many things I need to complete. So, let me get back to my table. And until next time, I'm looking forward to seeing you right here on Little Gretchen's Workshop. Bye bye now, dolls.